down here on Chopped Cheese Deli. We got the Chopped Cheese Deli right here. Nothing more New York than a chopped cheese. I don't know. Do people even know what the fuck that is? I never heard of that until probably the last couple of years, to be honest. In the rest of the country, can you even get a fucking chopped cheese in Columbus, Ohio? Not sure. In LA, can you get a chopped cheese? The Emma Lazarus High School for English Language Scholars. I think I live streamed over here once before, maybe. My city ruminations. It's a hot one today. It's 86 degrees, but it feels hotter. The sun is burning down. I just got my book. I'm going to talk about this. I was going to live stream yesterday, but I had a show Sunday, so Monday. I got another show tomorrow. So I'm, was just trying to take it easy yesterday. My tooth is giving me trouble. It's bothering me. I need to get it solved probably next week, maybe. Been saying that for months, but this time I mean it. I'm ready to not pay my medical bills. Jason King had a bit about how he doesn't pay medical bills. I thought, okay. He loves going to the doctor and not paying medical bills. I'm like, yeah. I understand this. That's the real health insurance in this country. Just not paying your medical bills. Having outstanding medical debt. Hey, look, I don't care if you... Look, I mean, I have people tuning in. I have people tuning out. I don't know. I don't know how to make this more exciting so thousands of people watch. I see these other New York City walking videos. It's like 100,000 people watched. New York nightlife. Walking at night. 120,000 views. There's this one guy who's a stand-up comic who's a tour guide. I watched his video about Brighton Beach. And he definitely knows his shit. He's an excellent tour guide, but you can tell he's a stand-up comic. Now that I've been at stand-up comedy world for a couple years, I could sort of sense it. And there's just so many of them in New York. There's just so goddamn many of them. It's weird because I think, there's a lot of people who are good at it in a sort of a folk way. Like, it's enjoyable to see them do stand-up comedy. But I would just say in the bigger cultural way, it's just crazy to me how fucking popular stand-up comedy is. Because I just feel like there's not really anybody out there that's that good at it. Even like Chappelle, when they act like he's king of fucking comedy and shit. It's like, I haven't really seen any funny shit from him recently. He's always just he's got bad energy. He's always got dark energy now. He's trying to defend some kind of fucked up point of view. He's bigger, he's kind of bulkier, his voice is lower. And here I am back in Times Square live streaming. That's right. The lamest guy on earth. In Times Square live streaming. There's nothing less. It's shuggy. Live streaming is shuggy. Let's face it, people. It's New York shuggy. Walking around with a selfie stick. Well, it could be more shuggy than a selfie stick. But I'm not going to get self-conscious, I'm just going to do my thing, You just be yourself. You just, do whatever the fuck you're called to do in its time. Bright star. Okay, so what the fuck was I talking about? Not paying medical bills. Well, the real issues of the day, the real shit we gotta talk about. Camelot, of course. Camelot. We're all in for Camelot, right? The Democrat war machine just rolls on. Let's escalate the war in Ukraine. Vote for Camelot. I don't know. Who knows? Who the fuck knows which end is up anymore? Is Trump the anti-war candidate? I doubt it. There's no way that can be true. He's the collusion candidate. Yeah, stand-up comedy. I was bitching about stand-up comedy. Like Rogan just had this fucking special come out. His first special in 6 years. And there was this clip of Jeff Garlin on fucking Joe Rogan podcast talking about how any time he sees a guy doing tons of physical shit on stage, he knows he's not funny. Anytime he sees a guy fucking a stool, and as they're playing this, they're showing all these clips of Joe Rogan on stage, very physical, fucking a stool. Joe Rogan does a lot of physical work in his act, I guess. Well, he's bad at comedy, I guess is the point. You know, even though he's like such a nerd about the comedy art form and fucking comedy as an art form and how fucking serious, he's just very serious about it in the Mojo Dojo, in the fucking dojo of his studio. I feel like Rogan has mass appeal because he's like a deep idiot. You know, like he has lowest common denominator kind of appeal because, I don't know, just like, he's pretty gullible. I don't know. Well, it's crazy because he's, the reason I talk about it right is because he just wields such cultural influence. And it's kind of because of how average or something. You know, like the thing about people that get famous on the internet, it's like they look like us. They're just like us. They are us. You know, it's kind of made the celebrities less. Like there's, okay, this guy Moschino Dorito. This is pretty deep TikTok. I don't even like Moschino Dorito. He's like this ginger with like a huge beard. He's like a neckbeard Shrek. He's an ogre, but he's a ginger. But he got canceled for something. I guess he's anti-woker. He's, God, what would they call it? Oh, there was a great term. He's a moral narcissist. I've got some great new terms today. TikTok kind of came loaded with some new content. So moral narcissist and museum cities. I want to talk about museum cities as well. Museum cities and moral narcissists. Moral narcissists are like anti-woke. They don't really, or no, they're not anti-woke. They use woke politics as like sort of a way to, it's really just about them. You know, it's just a way for them to tell other people what to do. And, oh God, there was another fucking take about this. Whitney Cummings had something to say about it. Trauma being like the ultimate privilege. Your trauma being like an indication of like your privilege. Or like your claim to trauma or whatever. Why did I walk all the way over here? I'm walking around, you know. I need to end up in Soho, so I thought I'd just do a little tour of, you know, some of the interesting environs. You know, you get a lot of dimes, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's so touristy now. It really is like Times Square. Well, okay, so TikTok, another thing about it. Well, we were talking about KGB, and they have this show on Tuesday that's like a ticketed comedy show that this girl hosts, and we were just kind of talking about the difference between the two shows and how they make money, how we make money, the 2-drink minimum, blah, blah. They don't have a 2-drink minimum. They sell tickets, and then I guess, well, I probably shouldn't say this on the internet, but
You can wait a little bit.
let's just say it all gets taken care of. But, you know, Monday night, it's like we got to shake people down week after week after week. I guess everybody just buys soda. I didn't know people were out there just buying fucking soda. Nobody wants to drink anymore. You know, like Gen Z's sober. People kind of realize the lies have been exposed about alcohol, and just it's really kind of dangerous for you, you know? I mean, it's bad for you. It's really bad for you. And you get hungover, and so I don't know. The 2-drink minimum is like, it's, you know, moral, it's a moral gray area. Something we just kind of want to look away. You know, we just want to look the other way. So yeah, here I am doing an on-site investigation into the heart of,
Oh yeah.
I'd like to set some shows up at this luncheonette place. I like to host an open mic there. Well, I'm just starting to think about I should have a fucking show. They have this show that they sell tickets. It's like, uh, I need a weekly show that's like where I can actually just do stuff for an hour or two. I love hosting the open mic, but I'd like to have people want to come to see me, not just because they want to fucking get on stage. Which that's cool. I'm down for that. I love that. Yeah, so moral narcissists are, well, they're sort of like a little bit more of a woke backlash in the culture. Like I saw a lot of these companies are getting rid of DEI initiatives, and they're getting MEI, which stands for Merit Excellence and something else. I don't remember what the third one was, but inclusion maybe? Well, no, that's DEI. DEI is inclusion. What the fuck did the I stand for? Merit Excellence and Intelligence maybe? There's a lot more talk about we need a meritocracy. We don't have a meritocracy. We have this kind of fixed, right with the Secret Service, right? People pointed to this female Secret Service director as sort of a DEI hire or something. That's why. That's just kind of people reading their own bias into it. But it is also weird, and this is just something that I've been thinking about. It's just how we need to think as a culture together. It's just kind of weird to me that we all kind of move through these stages of group opinion about things like wokeness, where it's okay, this year we're super, super, super adherent to this. We are all, and so in order to be socially aware, you kind of have to do that, or else you come off as just kind of uncalibrated weirdo or something. Or it's just I don't know, maybe I pay too much attention to those kind of bigger cultural, but it's Brad Summer, right? Why? Why is it Brad Summer? Who decided that? Why do we all, it's just, we all sign on board for this. It's Brad Summer. We're all doing this. We're all brats. And it's everything's like that. It's okay, we liked Trump for a week, or we didn't like him, but people were psyched about him for a week after he got shot. And then Kamala fucking takes the nod and boom, all of a sudden the narrative, it's just the news cycle and Twitter. The news cycle is almost the thing that moves through these changes, like a changeling, where it's but the effect is hyper intensified because of social media, I feel like. The media used to control this kind of thing, I think. The media kind of told people what groupthink was going to be. I think there was a little bit of back and forth. The media was sensitive to just what was going on in the culture and what it needed. But it's what seeds these things? What do they mean? Are they manifestations of our own desire? Brat Summer. Where did that come from? Why did it catch on? I guess that's the job of the artist, to be intuitive and just sort of, but it's who decides that it's going to be, what the fashions are going to be that's fall or spring? It's is that political? Is that economic? Is that an artistic decision? Is it propaganda? Because we all kind of follow these things, it's the way that you dress, right? If you dress like you're from a certain era, if you're out of step with the times, people kind of label you oh, look at this guy. He's he's old, or he's out of touch or something. It's if you don't follow this stuff, if you don't know who these people are, and maybe it's more authentic to be out of touch if you are. But I think with the social media, everybody's playing a part that's scripted to them, where it's okay, now we're all super fucking woke and we're acting like this is who we were the whole time. We've always thought about this. We've always cared about this. and maybe we haven't, maybe we should have. But it's just weird how people are just like, they just want to fit into the cultural cliche of like, okay, well, if I'm the left, I'm going to be like a drag queen, story time, RuPaul, Marvel Cinematic Universe, vote blue no matter what. Blah, blah, blah. Or if I'm on the right, I'm like a Trumper, F-150 driving, gun fucking nut, Christian, gun, abortion hater, super anti-abortion. And so, wow, it is hot out. I do need to get fucking water and shit. Yeah, so it's like, I feel like with the internet, we're constantly pinging off each other at all times to sort of like decide, or you even see this with like people, like Hawk Tuah, I guess is like an extreme example of this, where it's like this person became like, a household name overnight. And people kind of knew that it was going to go through this quick, disposable, just throw this person away. Like she was just going to be like a one-hit wonder or something. For some reason, the culture needs that. The culture needs newness. It needs favorites. It needs things to love one week and throw out that used to be cool. We're not doing that now. Now, what do the polls say? JD Vance is the worst VP pick ever. I don't disagree, but it's like interesting how this shit changes just overnight, and it's kind of based on public perception. People didn't like Biden because he's old. We all decided after the debate, we all saw the debate, anybody with any fucking sense had to see it and go, this guy's a little bit infirm. Maybe you shouldn't have the nuclear football. But neither should Trump. It's like this theater is playing out before us in the media, but we're also commentators on it. But it's just like the algorithm, I feel like, rewards this stuff too. Perhaps this is one reason why people are so sane, is like you're really only going to get views if you talk about something that has a large interest that a lot of people want to hear about, or if you do it in a way that's going to be accessible. Like you can't really go against the grain of the algorithm and expect to get through, I don't think. That's not to say that interesting things don't get attention. Maybe I am just bad at making content. But it also just feels like, with writing, it's like if you have a certain number of Twitter followers and they're the right people, it's like those people are the leading fucking writers of our generation, at least in like the minds of that, because that is the media in a certain way. I mean, they sort of made themselves that. But, people like Shai Watson or fucking all those, like Paul Henson Clark, these people that are sort of like alt-lit kids, catch breath. People just kind of decided, I don't even know why. They just have a certain number of followers on fucking Twitter because I don't even know. I don't know. They project a certain attitude that people will aspire to be or something. Are they the best writers? Are they the most... I mean, there's definitely people on Twitter with more followers than people like that. But, I don't know. I've never been able to break through to large groups of people. Like some of the people from the open mic, or people I know, I look at their Instagram reels, they've got like 1 million fucking views. Like, could you imagine getting 1 million fucking views on a goddamn Instagram reel? Like, almost 2 million views. It's like, pretty fucking cool. That's pretty amazing. I guess I should have just walked. Just keep going. Me, I top out about 200 views. I don't even think I've had a video on TikTok get over 1,000 views. You know. So that's frustrating, but you know, just more of me complaining about tech, more of me complaining about the cyber dystopia, how it doesn't reward me, how I'm being smothered in a lack of attention, and you know, it's just so frustrating to see influencers. There are people that are like, you know, really are doing well with like their fucking life is just like, hey, I'm gonna film every goddamn thing I do and put it on TikTok. And you know, TikTok is like having a TV with you at all times. Like when I was on the fucking subway platform before I came over here, I'm looking across the subway platform. You know, there's probably 20 people on the other platforms spread out. They're all looking at their phones and they're all watching videos on their phones. They're all fucking watching TikTok. You know, it's like everybody has got a fucking cable television, infinite channels of all their favorite fucking crystal meth, you know, mainline, you know, content, gushing endorphins, gushing serotonin, morphine gushing. This is the Emma Peel room. I think it used to be called the Record Plan or something. Maybe I'm making that up. I went to I saw Wyatt Cenac do comedy here once, back in probably like 2011. Back when he was on The Daily Show or whatever. You know, something like that. Just like this dude's on The Daily Show. People know who he is. So they'll pay to see him do comedy. Just because he's got that credit. You know, just because, like, millions of fucking people saw what he did. And so it's exciting to be able to, like, make your own publicity. Well, okay, so we're talking about this comedy show that they do. And I'm like, how do they sell tickets for this? You know, this comedy show they do on Tuesday. She's like, I think they get all their audience from TikTok. You know, like these comedians literally have such a fucking big audience on TikTok. They just sell. And that's, you know, that's everybody now. That's fucking podcasts. I guess this is just redundant for me to yap about this. Everybody knows this, I guess, but me. I'm a few years behind, you know. I still feel weird about it. I don't post reels. I don't even clip this out. You know, there's nothing from this and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna kill. This is 100% lean protein, you know, muscle. It's like all of my clips kind of have meandering, not necessarily like doing these like succinct video essays where I'm like bullet pointing everything out and making it super succinct and like some kind of fucking PowerPoint I'm doing. I'm really just exploring. Ideally, you know, it's like I'm flapping my fucking arms and legs mentally, and sometimes I would like to fly. Sometimes you can get, you know, some air. God, should I just go to fucking Times Square? Fuck. I gotta sit. I'm trying to get to this sushi place at 8 o'clock, but I still got, you know, an hour and 40 minutes. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, they build a fucking audience on TikTok. That's how you do everything. You gotta build an audience online. You know, we work for these companies. It's just like, investing all that time and effort in making short form stuff that's very like I said, everybody kind of does this stuff the same. You know, the way that everybody vlogs, their fucking screen caps that they post, the thumbnails. You know, you have to do it a certain way on YouTube to get clicks, to get people's attention. You know, I'd rather call, you know, like the titles of my live streams. It's like, what the fuck? Who is going to click that? Who's going to see Museum Cities? And, you know, does that even have anything to do with what the fuck I'm talking about? Or what is it? You know, it's not like, you know, the default YouTube title is like, live stream Their scenes from their life is live! Exclamation point. Shit. I gotta be careful because I got this sauced out rice dish in my backpack. Can't get sauce in my new book. Yeah, so we're in the Museum City. I mean, that's what that's about. But I don't know. I've been streaming so much late at night that I just thought I'd do one during the day to just kind of tap into, just see who else. You know, certain people watch during the day. They might not watch late at night. You know, I've been doing it. Honestly, the later I do it, the more viewers I get. It's usually not till like 2 a.m. that people really start tuning in. But you know, I do these so people can watch them later. Really, they're not necessarily meant to be seen completely live. I hope that people click them throughout the week, even after, even if you can't be with me in the comment section. You know, you can still enjoy that week's diatribe, lecture, food for thought, you know, monomaniacal rant. I don't really like the term yap. I feel like I've started to throw yap in just because it's what people say. You know, maybe I am too obsessed. I'm always tracking like slang. I want to hear, you know, new slang. I want to know what's going on culturally. I've always been interested in pop culture. Not necessarily the music anymore. But, you know, or even the movies or anything, actually. But the idea of it. I'd like to believe there's a better pop culture. You know, like the internet could be a better pop culture, really. It's just like, I don't know. People fulfill the cultural cliche of whatever political position they're supposed to argue now about. Men, women, you know. The differences between us. The etiquette of race relations, gender relations. Just, you know, there's hyper-analysis, hyper-self-consciousness. And, I don't know. There's just like a weird, it's like they're training us to overly dwell on these issues. Oh, this place is back open again. That's good. This banh mi sandwich is like really good. It's very affordable on Bermuda. All right, to come back in there soon. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into nitpicking world politics. I love world politics. I support them. We all know it's complicated. It's a minefield. You can blow yourself up at any time. Well, I do think Kamala is like positive. I feel like hopeful now. I mean, maybe that's my naive, brainwashed, dumb liberal point of view. Is Kamala going to be the Eric Adams of the United States? You know, is she just going to be this sort of like multicultural face behind this like military kind of regime? You know, I don't know. I do think the Biden administration has been flexible. They've been responsive. You know, they're not necessarily socialists per se, but like they listen to that stuff, you know, and they're definitely progressive when it comes to like the woke issues, I would say. And so I think it'll be, you know, the Trump people claim that if Trump gets in office, the war in Ukraine will stop the first day. Trump is such a badass. These other leaders are afraid of him that the fucking war... Okay, they're shooting some goddamn movie or something over here. What's this? There's a set. We're on set here. I don't know what it is. Probably Alec Baldwin. Like some fucking Alec Baldwin vehicle. Who have they got in there? Okay, I think they're shooting that fucking grocery store or something. Can I walk by the police with my selfie stick? What is this? London Alley. Okay. Some show called London Alley. I don't know. Do you guys watch that? Does anybody watch London Alley? I've never heard of it. Is that with Jeremy Irons? It's a hot one. Okay, so I've had sex in this building right here. I know that's an abrupt non sequitur, but I was on vacation, Christmas. It was actually between Christmas and New Year's, I think. And my friend's sister lived in this dorm. This is an NYU dorm. You know, you have to check in and shit. You have to sign in. And supposedly Brad and Angelina lived across the street in that building that looks like a big Duomo. That it's a former police station. Now it's condominiums for rich people. Supposedly Brad Pitt and Angelina lived there. But so I came home and there was not really that many places to sleep, so I had to like share a sleeping bag. Oh, it was pretty smooth actually. I don't know. Should I talk about this on the internet? And then next thing you know, I'm having sex. I'll just leave it at that. So, you know, that was before I moved to New York. I was like, this is pretty cool. I gotta move here. You know, I was only here for a week. I'm having sex already? Like, wow. Not bad. You know, I wasn't exactly having sex that often, let's say, in Columbus, Ohio. Which, you know, if you're a single lady, Columbus, Ohio is a good place to be. There's a lot of eligible, tall, strong, workhorse type, you know, I feel like women just treat men like they're some kind of, you know, animal or, you know, some kind of like livestock where it's like, how tall are you? How long is your penis? I need specific measurements. Let me get a look at your teeth. He's big. I like that. He can carry stuff. He can carry groceries. This one's a hard worker. He's a breadwinner. The Preakness. What the fuck is this? Champers. Okay, let's get some of this. This is pretty nice. We're in the canyons of Soho. The ravines. This is Ashley Longshore right here. Okay, this is pretty fashionable. I don't know, have I been down here before? I come down here at night. There's never, you know, this is all closed and completely abandoned at night, you know. Okay, so anyway, what else? Yeah, these are my hot takes. So yeah, okay, now it's apparent that Kamala is probably going to win, I guess. I mean, I'm curious, you know, what the exact numbers are in the swing states, because, you know, the popular vote doesn't mean shit. As we've learned time and time again, you know, basically any time the Republicans got elected in my lifetime, they cheated because they did not win the popular vote. But so it doesn't matter, you know, it's meaningless. It's nice, you know, the Democrats, you know, basically would always be president because if it was up to the popular vote. But they brainwashed just enough people in the right places with the right wedge issues that we get fucked every single time by people in Florida, people in Ohio, people in Michigan, people in Pennsylvania, people in Wisconsin, the blue wall. What are Kamala's numbers in that area? That's what I want to know. You know, she didn't sign NAFTA like Hillary. See, this is the advantage of Kamala, and we're still living in kind of the honeymoon period because the public really doesn't have an image. You know, there's no, so it's positive. It's just like she's this dancing coconut lady. You know, and that's not going to last forever. You know, she actually has to be on TV. She has to make speeches. You know, I've started to see commercials with her. I think she's a good actor. You know, I've started to see commercials with her doing direct address speeches. They're pretty good. Judge Joe Brown said she's a hoe. He knows a hoe when he sees it. I guess that's probably some really mean right-wing propaganda, but just need to air that out on my toxic, perhaps overly sympathetic to the bad guys YouTube channel. Balthazar, we love you, Balthazar. Someday I will eat at Balthazar. I've lived in New York City 15 years. I've never eaten at Balthazar. This guy just like got in a fight with this other guy in the corner. He dropped something on him or something. Keith McNally, Balthazar. That's the restaurant that got James Corden canceled. So it's just the gift that keeps on giving. He said something insulting about the staff or something. I don't remember. That was the end of James Corden. Well, that's another example of public opinion. You know, people will come out, like this Moschino Dorito guy said something, I don't know, he showed his ass. You know, he wasn't just playing some kind of virtue signaling role or whatever the fuck, edgelord role. He came out and he said something about it and showed who he was. And so now it's like the whole internet has decided this guy sucks. All of TikTok. I think you just have to get used to that. It's almost like face heel turn cycles. You know, in this day and age, it's like, how are you going to be popular forever? You know, people turn on you or I don't know. How do you manage that? How do you manage your public image? I guess just don't be a shitty person. Be a good person. That'll take care of itself, but I don't know. Is anybody a good person, or is that just a lie? I feel like desperate. I don't know. You know, I feel like I guess I am so lazy or something. You know, I cannot seem to make enough money to like help anybody else. And so I've been looking at this book that I published, right? So I just got the copy this week. And it's like the last 4 years of writing, basically. So it's kind of interesting to just see, like, this is what it was. Here it is, all in one place. And, you know, what my preoccupations are, the things that I return to over and over again. You know, not that I repeat myself, per se, but there's a lot of things that I dwell on, you know, and use as an excuse, I guess. You know, like fucking not having enough money, right? Is something that comes up all the time. About why I can't help people, why I can't, you know, it's like you gotta wait till your fucking cup is filled before you fill other people's. But it's like, it doesn't work that way, really, you know. Where should I go? This way, maybe. And you also just kind of see like, okay, these are my limitations, you know. You think you're doing all this different stuff, but then you see, okay, I keep going to these same things. I keep going to real estate, finance criminals, you know, nature, whatever. There's a lot of, one thing that really surprised me, and there's a lot of like Dada kind of language gibberish. Like language, poetry, gibberish. And I do want to say thank you to Billy Lamont, if he's out there watching, because he gave me a really excellent, the show on Sunday I thought was very special at Bowery Electric. It was very nice reading with those spirits. I thought everybody complimented each other nicely. You know, it's an awesome venue. Check out the video, it's on YouTube. Poetry, music. But he gave me a really nice introduction, which what I thought was actually a really accurate read of what I do. And I've been thinking about it actually for the last few days. As I'm reading this book, you know, I'm like, oh, he really did a good job, kind of describing, you know, like it's getting through what I'm copying. what my influences are. Like, oh, this chick is totally into this guy. She's totally into that 6'5" finance bro. Like he said, Surrealist Dada there's parts of it. He said it's kind of got like a stand-up comedy edge, right? Because I sort of have a, uh, dabble, flirtation with that or whatever, rubbing up against that, thinking about that, trying to fit into that cultural mold to some degree, trying to colonize, or just paying attention. This is something people are listening to. Why? It's so close to poetry, and yet it's so toxic. The poets and the comedians are like cats and dogs. Just like the poets will not stand for the comedians. And to be honest, they shouldn't. The comedians are kind of all fascists. The Rogan, tree of people, these people are all kind of fascists, to be honest. They're all into martial arts and fucking fighting and, even fucking, even dumbasses have deep conversations and wonder about the universe and take DMT. And so there is, the comedy world is really, that's like the surprise to me. It's like when I go to try to participate, or, I have this romantic idea in my head from mass media in the 90s about what it is to be a comedian in New York, and, Carson and Jack Benny or fucking Bob Hope or, any of these fucking people right on down, Woody Allen or whatever. Jackie Mason, the guys in the Carnegie Deli. Broadway Danny Rose. You want that. You want Seinfeld. You want to be Seinfeld. You want to go to the Improv and go out with Terry Hatcher. And, I was into that when I was a kid in the 90s. That's what I watched. I watched Conan. I was thinking about Conan recently. Watching Conan in the 90s, 1997. In the summertime, it was like the episodes were just like less busy. There was less people in the city. There was less people watching TV. Everybody's out doing stuff, So it's like, that's just what happens in the summer. People, that's okay. You still do a show. It's kind of sleepy, but you just do it, And you kind of get to just, stretch out and do what you want and grow, It's a good time to grow in an interesting way. Because you're still working, but it's like you get to work through a little bit of a relaxed, like you're in the Olympic Village. And so yeah, he gave me a really good close read with a lot of different, he's the Rimbaud thing, certainly I imitate that. With my poems, like I am trying to one thing I'm reading this book, I'm thinking how much it's like Joanne Kiger. Because it basically travels through time over the last 4 years. And so it's like, I'm hoping that it has an effect for the reader to just sort of like, have it sort of grow through the whole book, almost like the sun going up and down. I want them to feel that. I want them to feel days going by and seasons going by and the sun going up, sun going down, the weather changing. Not that I talk about it that much. And I was conscious of these things when I was doing it, that I wanted it to sort of add up in this kind of cumulative way where I'm covering all these different bases. I'm trying to cover every base I possibly can to just describe experience and tell the story of my life through these sort of spots of time, spots of recollection, or like there, it's like being there. It's almost like I just did a post, or like I went live. So it's like you're live through the poem, And so like the way that I title these live streams, a lot of times it's just titles I take from my poems, because these are related to whatever the material is that I'm writing about. A lot of times what I put in the poem is just like the little kernel of the idea of things that sort of pop and expand on this. I go into more at length and kind of unpack. But in the poem, they're sort of there in this condensed note, kind of jotted, brief encapsulation that just goes on and on and on and on and jumps all over the place. But I'm thinking it's not big enough. I really want to write Underworld. As I'm thinking about the book, I want it to be my big New York novel. So it's like right now it's only chapbooks since the pandemic, but I'm like, I have a bunch of chapbooks from right before the pandemic that take place in New York. So I might add that stuff back in, to just make it. I just want it to be huge, and I want it to go through all these changes like the city does. Like every book is kind of its own piece. They're almost like different neighborhoods in the city, full of buildings. The buildings are the poems, A lot of the poems are named after buildings, and they look like the buildings, but they also change subtly depending, I like my poems to look like what my life looks like. That's why I walk around so much, just absorbing the buildings, the environment, the architecture, because I want that to go into my poems, at least for this book. I wanted specifically to write like a big New York only, I've got the San Francisco book, I've got the Paris book, I wanted to do just like my Underworld, which is like a 700 fucking page. I mean, that book is like a fucking doorstop, And so, but they're expensive, right? It costs more to put more pages, and it's already cost like, I don't even know how much it's going to cost if I ordered a bunch of them, but it would probably cost, I'm thinking if I could print maybe 20 of them for $500. Is that right? I'm not sure if that's right or not. No, maybe it's 50. I think I could do 50 for $500. That's right, Peter Shankman. Thank you for watching. I'm live from Soho. I'm on motherfucking Spring Street, baby. Talking about my poetry and whatever you want to talk about. Let me know if you have any specific subject. Oh, it's restaurant week, everybody. Happy restaurant week. Because everybody's out of town. They got to get people in the restaurant somehow. They got to get the broke people who can't afford to go to these places normally. So it's just another kind of class differentiation. We're stuck here. We're poor, so now's our chance to dine, 2 courses at Raoul's or whatever it is. We're going to the My Dinner with Andre restaurant. It's Ashley's birthday coming up, so we're having My Dinner with Ashley. And we're going to the My Dinner with Andre restaurant, Café des Artistes. Now it's called something else. The Leopard at Des Artistes or something. And, that's a bucket list item right there. Going to My Dinner with Andre restaurant. Having My Dinner with Ashley. And then we're going to Monkey Bar, which is also supposed to be incredible. If you're going to live in New York, you got to fucking take advantage of this stuff. Sounds like an adventure. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a, fancy fucking place, on the Upper West Side, right by Central Park. It's literally like a block. It's like on Central Park. I think it has a Central Park West. It's got a, Fifth Avenue address. Or that's a Central Park West address. Yeah, it's just interesting to see the whole book kind of there all at once. See the subtle changes through time, see how each book is kind of different, and I want them to be tied to the history, of like what's going on, the inflation, the Biden era, the change, the political changes, and the groupthink that we've kind of moved through. This is something I was talking about earlier. It's just how human beings, and like with the news cycle, it's like we all fucking think the same thing at the same time. Or like the media decides like that's what the story is. And so it's all like, well, like, okay, Rogan's take was Kamala was the worst VP in history. And now she's like going to win and be the president. It's like, I don't know why people characterized her in that way. There's no way she was the worst fucking vice president in history. Like, she's not Dick Cheney, okay? She didn't like fucking, ruin our lives with 9/11 or anything. Yet. Maybe that will happen. That remains to be seen. But Um, you know, as far as I could tell, she didn't really do a whole lot of anything. You know, they always kind of kept her in the background. They kind of kept her out of the media. You know, so it's like I got to assume whatever she was doing was proceeding according. Like she would visit other countries a lot, right? That's what I thought. I heard it was like they were just going to send Kamala all over. Oh, by the way, Hamburger America is not. They're all ops. They're all agents. They won't let you roll a joint in Hamburger America. You can't roll joints in Hamburger America. I was rolling a joint in Hamburger America. It's the only places it's ever happened to me anywhere. I was rolling a joint in Hamburger America. A small one, you know, not like some massive, you know, Doobie Brothers joint or anything. And this woman comes over to me and she's like, "Sir, you can't do that in here. What do you think you're doing?" It's like, come on, I'm almost done. What's a big deal? You know, you got to embarrass me in public like this? We should just sit in this tiny little park right here. So that's, you know, that's Hamburger America. They're narcs. They're narcs at Hamburger America, okay, is my point. Yeah, so I don't know. My book is sort of probably going to be unreadable because there's no punctuation. You know, the syntax is just completely broken. You know, there's just fractured syntax that just goes every which way. It's probably frustrating to read to an average person. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating to me. It's very sexual. There's a lot of very aggressively sexual images that are probably, I don't know. So it's interesting to see things that are themes that kind of recur. You know, I want people to be able to read it that way. I don't know if it's going to have any meaning for anybody other than me, because it's like, it's my life. So it's like, you know, all these things are sort of inside jokes with myself that are explaining what happened. They might not make any sense, but like, okay, like this Billy Lamont thing on Sunday, I read our travel log to Montauk because it's summertime and, you know, everybody rich gets to go to Montauk right now. But the poors were trapped here to die in the heat, to kill each other in the violent, sweltering inferno, urban inferno. This is a nice little corner right here. There's flowers. So yeah, I was like, you know what? Let me take everybody on a little journey to Montauk. I just typed up my new book, Vigilante Justice, which is coming out soon. I mean, I hope to print it in like the next 2 weekends. So hopefully by like mid-August. I'm trying to set up a Labor Day telethon. Trying to set up a, you know, I like doing the Labor Day telethon. We did it last year at the local rooftop. So, and it was kind of a nice event. It was a nice way to end the summer. And, you know, I've had a good history working with them, so I'm trying to set that up for Labor Day. And, you know, I'll have my book definitely by then. But, Vigilante Justice. Why the fuck did I start talking about it? Oh, my Montauk sequence is in this book, right? So I just typed it up. And I thought it would make a nice little, you know, 10 to 15 page kind of like core. Every book I try to have a few pieces that anchor the thing, right? And kind of give it more of a reason to differentiate itself, to make it different from all the other books. So this, it's like it's got the Montauk trip, the whole fucking thing. And it's kind of a fun throwback to my earlier travel books. It's using kind of the same method, which, like, if you've ever read Joe Brainard's journals, you definitely got to get the Joe Brainard Library of America edition if you don't have it. Comedian should have it too, to be honest, because he's funny and he's simple. He almost writes like a comedian in a certain way. He's almost like Jack Handy or something. But he does these travel diaries, Bolinas journal of his trip. He's got a few that he wrote on buses. Like there's one where he went to Vermont. He's always going to Vermont. And then Ted Berrigan, of course, Train Ride, which was published by my friend Annabelle Lee, Vehicle Editions. Train Ride is Ted Berrigan took a train, I think, from New York to maybe Providence. I don't remember exactly where he was going, Connecticut or something. And he wrote a book on the train ride. So it's just like, that's the fucking story of him being on the train and everything that he thought, everything that went to his head, you know, associative, kind of tangential. So my books are kind of versions of that. There's also this poem called Back to Boston Again, which Ron Padgett, Aram Saroyan, and I think I don't remember. But that's another poem about like a trip that lasts like a few days. And it's just kind of a travel log. So that was what I originally started doing, really, where it was like, there's a piece in my self-included book called Ohio Diary, which was like a work trip I took to Ohio. That was the first time I really like kept a diary about like a place, where it was like I tried to reproduce what it looked like on the page and kind of make that, because I was reading that Joe Brainerd stuff at that time and Tambourine Life and all that stuff. Ted Berrigan kind of expanded into that. All his postcard pieces, the stuff he wrote more to the end of his life was more kind of just like occasional poems that he wrote about his life as he lived it, but he would shape it into, you know, as strong of like a standalone poem as he could, even though it was sort of autobiographical and like location based about wherever he was. You know, there's stuff he's got that he wrote in England, Battersea or whatever. Red Wagon is like about all these different universities he taught at. Ann Arbor, Song. He's got a great poem about moving out, I think in Buffalo or something. Saying goodbye to the house. And the postcard poems are almost like that, where it's like you're writing about something that's happening right there, like to a friend, but you're shaping it into, you know, the most condensed, kind of charming message you can or whatever. Walking through my favorite neighborhood, of course. We got to do the West Village saunter about. So yeah, I'm talking about my new book, City Life, compilation of all my New York City zines, my underworld. Yeah, so this Montauk piece, there was some other fucking thing I just had. This Montauk piece is like a little miniature version of that, you know, where it's sort of like the centerpiece of this book, 10 to 15 pages. So I read it at the thing on Sunday, and it seemed to make sense, you know. I think even though it's this kind of like thing that happened in my perceptions and in my memory and shit, it's supposed to play like, you know, a home movie or whatever, a vlog of the experience. You know, my poems really imitate my video editing, really, as much as anything, as much as any poetry. You know, when you're filming shit with an iPhone, it's all linear. You know, you don't have a choice of another angle most of the time. I mean, maybe your friends will send you another angle or something and you can edit in later, but like for me, it's just like I whip my thing out and film it, you know, just from the fucking holster. Shoot from the hip. And so it's like you don't have other angles. So it's like any cut you want to make, you're going to jump cut. And a lot of the edits you're going to make are just going to kind of jump anyway and kind of jam things together that are, you know, a lot of time may have elapsed in between. There's no establishing shot necessarily. There's no, you know, I'd like to imitate filmmaking fucking as much as I can and make it like real filmmaking when I'm doing vlogs and stuff.
Like,
and give it like, you know, shot ideas and storytelling and, you know, some fucking like smoothing over. But with the poems, it's kind of the same thing. It's like you'll have a line that might be just be one line that you think is just, when you're high, it comes into your head and you're like, oh, that's super profound.
Honestly,
Private property. Oh, I got to write that down. Private property.
other like
A lot of times a poem will just, or a title will just happen in the middle of my poem. Because it's like, oh, think of a good title. Private property would be a good title. But I thought of it. I already have a title. So it's like, well, I can't use it because I already have a title. So it's like, okay, well, I just got to write it down before I forget it because I don't want to lose that. It's almost like you're just going around finding language on the ground or something. It's like, okay, I thought of this phrase. I overheard this phrase. This phrase just kind of popped into my head out of the blue. Then I write it down. But it's interesting to see over the course of, this is what I've been thinking about, because I just got this book on Monday. So it's like literally all day yesterday, I was just kind of in bed, reading over it, taking it all in as one piece, meditating on it, thinking about what I want to change, what I don't want to change, what it is, does it work, how does it look, how does it feel. It's a bigger book. I'll get it out. I'm going to go up to Bleecker Park and then I'll get it out and show everybody. Not that anybody cares. I don't know if this is interesting for anybody. I'm just kind of blathering about, this is my own kind of description of making the book and thinking about, what I want it to be, giving it its own, it's like, it kind of has its own shape. That's kind of what's interesting about seeing it all in one piece, together, bound with the cover. Maybe I put too much import on that stuff. I feel like if I just put a title on something or I group a bunch of clips together, it's like, okay, that's a video. That's a poem. It's kind of haphazard. Part of it is like my lines are almost just like footsteps. They just kind of fucking, they're just like paw prints. This stands as one fucking paw print. This other stands as another fucking paw print. And there's an element of chance too, where it's like, the life is just sort of coming at you. You don't know what it's going to be about. You have ideas about what you want your life to be about what the story's supposed to be. But it's like, these lines are just sort of coming almost like road signs or something. And they happen, and it's like that's where they happened, and that's where they go. I don't take anything really out of order. I just kind of go like, I thought of this line, and then I thought of this line. I try to make them gel, I try to make them kind of go the same direction or whatever, grammatically or syntax-wise. But if they don't, or more kind of like rhythmically, like if I can say it out loud and it sounds like it kind of, you can get away with it flowing, then I'll let something go. But there's a lot of stuff that's not like that. There's a lot of stuff where just like, I'll have a line, then it'll just like completely reset and kind of slap you in the face from some totally different direction. Where as a reader, you're kind of like, wait a minute, this is not good writing. This is like jolting and upsetting and not grammatically correct. But it's like, well, I thought of one line, in front of Cowgirl Seahorse, and I wrote it down, and then I kept walking. And then, a few blocks later, another line came into my head where I overheard something, and then I wrote that down. And so I just accept that stuff. I just accept that, almost like a John Cage thing or like a chance operation where it's just like, this is what it was. There is sort of an intention, there is sort of a projection. But it's like, this is just the stuff that occurred on these days in my life from this time. This is the stuff, and it's kind of amazing actually, because, this has been my writing process for fucking, 6 or 7 years. And so, basically every important thought I've had has gone into this. Whatever little other than shit that I said online maybe, or things that go into other works. Anytime I've thought of anything or anything that felt like a line of poetry or a good line or told part of the story, or, all of that has gone into this. During my entire waking life, I never really take a break. I mean, there's definitely large swathes of time where you're not writing. There's weeks at a time where I really don't write hardly anything down. And you see that in the book too, where it's like there's gaps of like a few days, or there's like a day and there's one line. And that's like the only line from that day. And it's like, well, that was the only line that happened that day. So that's what it is. And so I think that tells part of the story too, where it's like, okay, well, that's that day. And there's a lot of days where there's no lines, because I was just living my life and kind of absorbing, without being quite as obsessed with driving productivity. But then there's days where there's pages and pages of shit, right? Like the Montauk stuff is like huge columns of, line after line after line after line. That goes on for like, when I read it on Sunday, it was 15 minutes, and I read it fast. So it's like, that's a pretty good that's a long poem, because it's important to sit down and write as well. And there's a lot of things that need to get told. So when I'm sitting down writing and trying to just like, generate pages and pages, it's like that's when I'm like trying to recount every interesting thing that happened to me, So if there's certain things that I missed, certain moments, things I've noticed that were like common themes or things I dwelled on or recurrences, things that seemed significant that happened in my life. So I don't know. I mean, in a certain way, maybe my writing in my performance style is super selfish and like self-involved and narcissistic. I mean, like, and I feel like I can't rely on the audience to approve of me. It's like I don't want to do it. I do it because this is how I want to do it. It gives me a lot of fucking joy. And maybe it is just like doing a crossword puzzle, like maybe I have just turned my life into some kind of weird like quip word game. But now that I have this book, I feel like I've got the Fairy Queen. I've got this epic 500-page, at these open mics and shit, it's like I read shit 2 minutes at a time. And it's like, it's a little piece of the day. It's a little piece of the life. But there's like a fucking, it's supposed to add up into this huge, like Proust, right? That's why I'm always talking about Proust. Or, like Ulysses. That was one day, but it's like, that's autofiction. That's kind of a cubist, psychological, historical, political, engineering, architectural, cultural, manifesto, avant-garde, experimental, encyclopedia, or fucking Zhukovsky's A. That's right. I'm putting myself up there, okay? My work, City Life, and all of my chapbooks, they're really one continuous, because you could read them all in a row and get the whole mental movie. Not that anybody gives a shit. To me, it probably is like home video tapes or something. It's like, oh yeah, this is October 1983 when I filmed my kid growing up. It's like, nobody gives a shit. Nobody knows who these people are. But that's one of the fun things. Here, let me get it out. That's one of the fun things about the book is I do feel like it's like this sort of version of New York. And there's all these characters going through it. There's all these real people. Junie or Ashley, of course, or, any Philip, there's everybody. Everybody is in this book. In sort of little miniature scenes at open mics, out in the city, out in different neighborhoods. When putting it together, I just think, what do I like? You know, what do I want the book to look like? You know, I don't fucking need anybody. I don't need some MFA program. I don't need Penguin Random House. I don't need some contest to tell me that what I do is like artistically a good idea. You know, I have a vision about what I think it should be, and to me it's about building that thing. You know, that's kind of what experimental literature would be, I guess, is like you have an experiment. You know, I'm gonna write it this way. I'm gonna keep my pocket notebook, you know, and I want to write a big New York City novel, and it's gonna be kind of a collage of experience, you know, experiential kind of fragments, sights, sounds, quips, thoughts, dreams. You know, well, like I said, one thing that kind of, here it is right here. So it's huge. As you can see, it's fucking huge, which I like. I want it to be huge, but it's also, it's not as thick. I need that thing to be, I want this thing to be a fucking brick. I want it to be thick as a brick, you know, just like New York. Right now, it's kind of like Manhattan, you know, which maybe I'll keep it this way. The form is very nice how it is. It starts in a nice way. It ends in a nice way. But it's 294 pages or something. So, you know, I want like a 700 page. You know, I want to write The Power Broker, for Christ's sake. You know, I want to be Robert Caro here. I need a 3-part, you know, biography of Lyndon Johnson, the giant of the Senate. Oh, maybe I'll go over here. The giant of the Senate. You know, because it's New York, you got to write a fucking huge book. It's a huge place. It's a titanic place. You know, it's got to have that big kind of boom baba Frank Sinatra thing going on, you know. So, you know, of course, there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of whining about gentrification, the way the city's changed, the super talls. There's a lot of bitching about super talls, of course. What else? Oh yeah, the thing that surprised me about it is how much I use as a crutch, like gibberish. You know, I feel like anytime I don't have anything, you know, I don't really want to write anything down that I feel like is trite or cliche or not specific and interesting enough. Like, a lot of times the things that I write down are very subtle about what makes them funny or interesting. Somebody's got to take care of the world. But when you can't think of something like that, when you can't think of a truly unique, you know, it's like sifting for gold or jewels or something. You know, when you can't find that little jewel of a sentence or a line, it's like, then you resort to gibberish. Or, you know, a lot of times when you're overhearing people, it creates really interesting kind of anti-language, or, you know, in a certain way, I think my only objective is to like defy cliches. And I feel like anything that's like kind of an established grammar context in film or in writing, to me, that a lot of times that just feels like cliche or prefabricated, or like there's not an original, like everything about it has to be original in a certain way. I think poetry kind of urges you to do that, because it's like you speak with your own voice. It looks the way you want it to look on the page. You know, it doesn't have to hug the left margin exactly, or fit standard kind of form or anything. You know, it's like you can take that as far as you want. You know, with individualizing it. And in fact, probably the more individualized, the better. You know, that's kind of what a poet is, I think, maybe in a way. It's just like highly individualized, moment to moment point of view, and you know, curdling that into alphabet. And but to me, those are almost like the dream patches, the part of the book, the patches in the poems where it kind of goes into, it kind of skids off into this kind of other language. You know, that's to break it up. It's musical, you know, first. Like I said, if you're out overhearing people in New York City on the subway or in kind of a public plaza, you're hearing kind of a multitude of voices at once. A lot of times it can come out like that. You know, you conflate things. And to me, it's like I'm trying to originate an interesting possibility of language or sound or, you know, words being kind of this free commodity. They're kind of like an inventor playset or something where it's like I can put this word with this word and like it kind of combusts and blows up into this fucking it creates a chain reaction to a whole new possibility, you know, of it's almost like a blueprint, you know, for your imagination where it's like, okay, uh, um, and it's just another dimension of experience, another dimension of a language. You know, it turns the words more into like a physical substance and kind of like object in the poem, which I think is important because so much of it is speech or thought or writing, you know, but to have words that just kind of defy breaking down into like a literal meaning, it just, you know, it's like that is the surrealist Dadaist part. That's like the dream talk, kind of like sleepwalk part of it. And so that's, you know, that's a part of our experience too. The things that are unexplainable, and it's a way of getting texture in and breaking things up. And but it's also like the whole language new sentence thing where it's like you're kind of trying to break down capitalism or whatever. You know, you're trying to break down the things that we take for granted, just as far as like here's you know, language, here's what it's supposed to sound like, here's what you're supposed to think, here's the way sentences are supposed to happen. You know, we're supposed to use MLA or Strunken White or whatever it is, New Yorker umlauts. And but it's like I didn't know how much I go into that or how much of the book is that, you know. And I think it creates an interesting, like I said, it's like noise, you know. To me, that's the fucking basis of the place, like free jazz part of it, you know, when it goes into these crazy kind of like speaking in tongues. You know, you don't know what you're unlocking in that kind of alien language or whatever it is. And so, you know, I didn't really edit anything out. That's the other thing about my writing is it's all kind of pre-edited. You know, I really only write stuff down that I feel like, okay, this is a good line. This is a unique insight that no one else is making. You know, I try to really only say things that I'm not hearing in other parts of the culture, or maybe, you know, I'm like reinterpreting the best things that I've heard in the culture on TikTok or in real life. Like my one poem about Palo Alto, you know, the one that Ashley loves, is like, that was like, I was listening to Alberto Botero do comedy at Soho Playhouse, and he was talking about SeaWorld. And I didn't, like, you know, transcribe what he said, but I kind of interpreted it in my own way as he was saying it into the poem, you know. And so it's like, that's a New York experience, Soho Playhouse, this great New York character, Alberto Botero. The thing about comedy is people are obsessed with, like, stealing material. Like, that is, like, the worst thing you can do as a comedian. You know, like Carlos Mencia, it's like, you're done. Joe Rogan is going to confront you and stare you down, and your career is over if we found out that you stole, like, Louis C.K. bits or whatever. But in poetry, it's like, you know, New York school, that's like a big part of it, is just like stealing shit. It's called found language. You know, it's like, that's Dada too, right? It's like Duchamp took a ready-made, you know, he took a urinal and he said, this is the piece. You know, that's all found language is. You're just saying, you know, this is an advertisement I found, or a newspaper article, something I heard on TikTok, a stand-up comedian. But it's different because you're not necessarily you know, it's not monetized. You know, it's not like you've got some huge special where you ripped off somebody's fucking material and like you're making millions of dollars by stealing their, like, okay, supposedly well, the thing that I've heard, right, is Dennis Leary stole "I'm an Asshole" from Louis C.K., which, like, I don't think Louis C.K. has a song called "Asshole." You know, it's like maybe he took the kind of like, you know, sort of like with Bill Hicks, right? Like he didn't really lift verbatim like every fucking thing Bill Hicks said, but he kind of took like the attitude and like the angle. You know, with "Asshole," it's kind of the same thing. It's like he took the angle of it, like, oh yeah, I'm an asshole, I'm gonna brag about it. I'm a fucking asshole, I do this. You know, I'm an asshole, I do this. But then he made it a song. You know, with intellectual property laws, copyright laws, business, that's where that shit really starts to matter. You know, I'm of the mind, and that's why I like poetry, because it's more of a place where you can kind of play with things, where it's like, you know, it's not really stealing. I mean, so much of our culture, all of culture is telephone, right? Where you're hearing something, you try to do it your own way, and you do it your own way, you know? But it's like you got inspiration, or, you know, like this is my version of, you know, a Joanne Kiger book, or a fucking Underworld, like I said, or Proust, or fucking Jack Kerouac stuff, or, you know, all of those things kind of are blended up. Eileen Miles, Ted Berrigan, New York School, James Schuyler, Frank O'Hara, Ashbery, whatever. You know, whatever, Moreno, and as well as, you know, Twitter, contemporary shit, alt literature, you know, open mic people, slam poetry, comedy. You know, that's one of the big recurring themes to the book, is my stand-up comedy career. So the poem is sort of a reality show about how I'm a failure. I don't know. I pivoted to comedy at the exact wrong time. You know, like comedy, I think, has become like a malaise. It's like a cultural malaise. I think it really should be discouraged. You know, like stand-up comedy really is. It's like these people should be institutionalized. They shouldn't be praised. They shouldn't be applauded. They shouldn't be given accolades. They need help. And I think the poets kind of see that, and they turn away from it. I don't, you know, that's why they are offended and aghast and horrified. The war between the cats and dogs, poets and comedians. You know, it's a tale as old as time. The right-wing fascists and the woke extreme left. The woke mob. And we're stuck in the middle. We're in the extreme center. We have these centrist extremists like Biden and Hillary and Camelot. The Knights of the Round Table. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about museum cities. Is New York a museum city? We're living in the era of museum cities. Apparently Europe is just museum cities. The Olympics are in Paris right now. And so, I don't know. Maybe this is just the TikTok effect, but I'm seeing all of these fucking videos of Americans in Europe. Everybody's in fucking Italy or Greece or Paris. And the rest of us are just live streaming from Bleecker Park. We're city rats. We're committed. We're really in this. You know, we really love this place, and we're deeply embedded. You know, I had to be deeply embedded to write this book. You know, I basically have not left New York City since 2021. I really haven't left Manhattan and Brooklyn that much at all. So the Montauk thing is one, you know, is like the closest I've come in a long time to being out of the city for like a while. And I was only gone for like 4 days or something, 5 days. But I wanted that effect, you know, I wanted the book to be a psychological reflection of this place, and, you know, I wanted to look like the city, to feel like the city, to sound like the city, to have the city in it, you know, all the parts. Central Park, right? Chelsea, the Village is a huge part. All those artists, you know, I'm name dropping people constantly because I want them in that mural, you know, I want them in that kind of fantasy collection of old New York, Bohemia, and to posit sort of an alternative or a fictional miniature like Synecdoche of New York. It's like we're building a replica, and here it is. And it's populated with open micers, my neighbors, Kuzu Daddy, famous people, known places, the streets, the neighborhoods, the bars, Jane Hotel. So it's like, I mean, can I just submit this to grad school? Like, here's my application. Either, you kind of have to assess it in this way. I can't just send you like 10 pages because it's it doesn't function really in the same way. And that's why I might not even necessarily call it poetry. It really is just like a journal of like notations, that I like. The way I conceived of them was like condensed word art, trying to consolidate syllables, alphabetical kind of recurring patterns. To me, those things have meaning, they have color, they have pigment, they have texture, they have sound. The sound has meaning. And as a poet, it's like you're trying to function all those levels at the same time. How it looks on the page, how it sounds out loud, how it reads silently, how it can be excerpted and published, in a fucking journal or whatever. But, a lot of my stuff is just onward flow. It doesn't necessarily stand alone. I mean, a lot of it does, but it's like, it's meant to be like life, where there's beginnings and endings happening all the time within the greater thing that almost, it doesn't end really. We go to sleep every day, but we wake up, and even at night you might sleep. When you're sleeping, you might dream. And so there's things that do begin and end. There's people we don't see anymore. There's jobs we don't do anymore. There's places we move away from. But it's like, then a new thing begins. And it's like all these timelines are kind of simultaneous. And certain things are beginning while other things are ending. And certain things are in the middle while other things are beginning. And a lot of things are just ongoing forever. And so you want to have all those different effects going on at the same time, where you've got the moment, you've got the apprehension of the moment, the meaning of that singular thing, and then you've got the situation, you've got the character, you've got the setting, you have just ambiance. It's meant to be like ambient music too, and environmental. Like, what did they say about Ulysses? They said, his goal was, if Dublin were to be wiped from the map, they could recreate the city exactly from his book. That was the goal with Ulysses. Was just by using the book and decoding it, they could rebuild Dublin. Like, all of the book would be in all of the city would be in the book, Whether or not that's actually, logically, factually possible is sort of different than, well, that's his artistic intention. So, whether he fell short of that or not, it's still an interesting thing that you kind of feel in the vapor of it, right? And so I get excited by that stuff, like when I was in Columbus, I would watch any goddamn movie if it had New York in it, because I just wanted to see New York. I wanted to read stuff about New York. I just wanted to find authors that wrote about New York, like F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'd read fucking F. Scott Fitzgerald shit just to find passages about New York or something. Or, that's one reason why I like the New York schools so much in Frank O'Hara, because it's just like he fucking talks about New York a lot and very specifically, and it's like, I don't know why that's appealing, there's just something intoxicating about the place or the setting as a setting for your own kind of life movie to play out or whatever. I don't know. I guess it's the height of our media hype civilization or something, but in a certain way, I feel like you can get the most out of life here. You know, the thing about New York is it just extends everywhere. You know, it's a huge place, but it's also small because it's really the whole world. It's like Montauk and the Hamptons are really just part of New York. You know, it's like they're 3 hours on the train or whatever, but in the scale of how big this place is and how big the people are that come here, that's really within. It's accessible. You know, um, upstate, same thing. Or I mean, even with the airports, it's kind of like an extension of that. You know, through JFK and LaGuardia or Newark, Peterborough. You know, the whole world is kind of at your feet. You know, New York probably has more direct flights or flights, international flights than, you know, okay, I'm on 20%, so I'll probably wrap it up pretty soon, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Um, you know, it really is just like a new kind of, because these places are not that out of reach, even though, you know, they're not immediately in New York. It's like you can still get to Coney Island, you can still get to fucking the Hamptons on the train in a few hours, you know, so it's like in a municipal way almost. It's like part of the city, you know, it's part of the network, you know, part of the public network. You know, it's not just like you have to have a car or whatever. You can just walk and get on the fucking train and go there. Same thing with the airports. And so, you know, it's all of this kind of stuff that I wanted to be in. This is actually a picture, I think, like right over here or something. I think it might actually be that corner right there. I think it might be that corner. Or this corner. I'm sorry. Is it this corner? I think. No, it's the. I don't know. Fucking things reversed or something. And so it's like, I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty interesting thing that. I mean, if you found it in a bookstore, it'd probably make no sense. I don't think it would ever get published by a major publisher because there's just so many controversial things and just like totally wayward grammatical errors. It's like antagonistic. But I did what I set out to do. It makes sense to me. It's what I'm trying to imitate the sound of thinking. There really isn't a coherence to that. There isn't really a linear, we're constantly breaking focus, jumping into a new subject entirely. And like Ulysses, there's certain chapters, like that Bloom chapter, where it's like you're in the character's head. You're getting that kind of break in syntax and his kind of like sensory field and his short attention span. I think I was an accelerationist when it came to short attention span. I think poetry has gotten way less short attention span. Gen Z or like the younger poets I see, it's like they all have a pretty good attention span. They focus on their subject and their prose is smoothed out and linear. I really jumped into the fragmented thing because I thought that was the nature of the internet. I just thought that's the future of our perception. It's just going to be all different manner of, video quality, source. Some of it's 4K, some of it's black and white from the 60s, some of it's, some cell phone camera from 10 years ago. And, it's not, the interface isn't quite as unified. Yeah, no, Adderall, there you go. Like with legacy media, it's like there was kind of a standardization to how things came at you or the way that they looked. Now it's just like this huge hydra. It's like 100-headed. There's just, the night has 1,000 eyes. There's just eyes everywhere. There's eyes in everything. and we're seeing from everybody's eyes. We can teleport our vision. We can do remote viewing. What do they call that? That's like a CIA thing. They could like throw their consciousness, and like spy on people. Museum cities. So yeah, Europe, they complain about the over touristing and the dumb American tourists. But that's their economy. That's how they make money now. They don't have a real economy. So it's all tourism and, I don't know, wine or something. Finance. So that's kind of how New York feels. We're just like, it's just, and if it's been appropriated. It's an affectation of people who wanted it, who sort of own it, who sort of are visitors, and sort of rich. I guess with the museum cities, there's some effort to just like keep them how they are. They're stuck in time. They're like vases or something. I don't think that's a bad thing. Why can't we build other places? Why can't we just leave New York kind of how it is and just be like, all right, you know what? It's a masterpiece. Just leave it. Don't touch it. Let's start, I think that's one thing that's kind of frustrating about being alive right now is it feels like we're hamstrung with like ingenuity. It's like, why aren't there people just like building new cities? It's like this country, when people came here, it's like they came here because they could do whatever they want and just like go out and build shit, build their own homestead or whatever, build a log cabin. It's like now, right, the government, I guess there's a lot of oversight, there's a lot of permits, there's a lot of zoning, single family, whatever, residential. But, this country has kind of stagnated, right, infrastructurally since the 70s. There really isn't a lot of new, we've fallen behind. And so, this idea of museum cities, it's like it's also a symptom of whatever's going on now. Just the way things are petrified financially because of wealth inequality and the way that money is just, vacuumed upwards. I hate to harp on that stuff, and this is like one of the preoccupations of my book. I don't think, how can you be in New York and not write about that stuff? It's so in your face. This place is the capital of finance. And so it's like everything looks like money. These new buildings that are going up, Hudson Yards, the super talls, they all look like money. They look like Secession. There's a reason why they're on all those stupid Wall Street movies, like The Big Short, all these Adam McKay fucking, like, finance, prestige media things. It's like, they all look like Hudson Yards. They all look like these Chrome Tower, Freedom Tower, glass, inoffensive, kind of generic, 21st century. Every place looks the same, right? All these world cities. I'd say better keep them as museum cities than like turn them into the modern corporate homogenized, living in a one world kind of globalized society. The same kinds of architecture is happening everywhere. The same people are able to live everywhere, travel everywhere. The places are less distinct. A place like New York has less of a local signature like it had in the 50s. The things that people say about New York, it's always dangerous, or the accent. There was a million things that made New York, that in a lot of ways now it's just kind of part of the zombified kind of suburban corporate sweet green Cava, Chipotle, Home Depot, Popeye's chicken. Landscape, the interstate kind of fast food shit. Target, there's Targets all over the fucking place now. Is that a good thing to put in your poetry? I don't know, but To me, it's like one the book is it doesn't, it functions in a way that's not really like a poetry book. That's why I say it's like a novel, because it is meant to be just kind of like this kind of prose work that you can kind of scour. It's meant to be easy to read. You're meant to be able to just pick it up anywhere, look at anything on any page, and immediately get something out of it. Immediate gratification. Whether that's a laugh, being drawn in, being provoked. It's provocative, it's sexual, it's highly sexualized, it's X-rated, it's pornographic. That's another thing that I'm looking at. I'm like, Jesus Christ, maybe I am too pornographic. To me, that stuff is love. That's what love looks like. It's hot, naked, sex. It's, a cum shot. We're told that this is dirty. We're told that this is like, fucking X-rated and bad, but it's like, that's what love looks like. How can you write about poetry? How can you write poetry? How can you write, what are you going to talk about, flowers and shit? The flowers are metaphor for genitals and genital excretions, because they couldn't say it. They couldn't say, come on my face, daddy, But we're breaking barriers, okay? Just like with Ulysses, they said that was pornographic too, right? Our culture is becoming increasingly pornographic. I mean, that's why I write about that, because the sexual mores have changed. I think that's part of the gender war that's happening now. Part of the reason why women are so uptight and like careful is because, like, with hookup culture, you did have a lot of irresponsible kind of just like bad behavior, like and but it's also like we're in hookup culture. It's like we have the pill, we're post-sexual revolution. I mean, there is sort of like a little bit of a drawback, or like a coming back from that with like trad wife or whatever this is, or more, women I think choose to be celibate sometimes, and they think that's like healthy. And I saw this study, I did want to talk about this. Apparently there's like medical proof that if women don't have sex like once a week, their mortality, like their longevity shrinks. But so it's like women, that's an incentive for them to go out and have sex, because it'll make them live longer. It's like biologically, if you go out and have sex more, you'll survive, so you gotta get fucked by toxic men, I'm sorry. So that's a toxic thing to mention, but I did read that on Drudge Report. Maybe my mind has been subtly like curved to the right because I read Drudge Report. So I'm seeing all these like curated right-wing fucking point of view. A homeless man was just sitting next to me. That's fine, but I was being a little... Yeah, so I don't know. What's to me, that's like the ecstasy of life. It's like having great orgasms with beautiful people who are geniuses. That's why you moved to New York, right? I mean, doesn't everybody want to be wanted by hot people, hot, smart people? I don't know. I'm a sapiosexual, so that's part of the allure to me. I've always put brains over beauty. It's true. I'm not superficial like most guys. I care more about the inner life. Okay, this homeless guy's starting to talk to people. He's starting to put my shit away here. Just in case I have to start moving really fast. What else do I need to talk about? Okay, yeah, I'm doing this Gong show on Thursday. People who don't have any plans on Thursday, 10 p.m. Come out to the Gong show, St. Mark's Comedy Club. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I haven't even done comedy in like 6 months. Or probably like 4 months. That's probably better. I think doing comedy just makes you worse at it. It just makes you less funny. You know, it's like comedy, I don't know. It's really like a cancer. It's symptomatic of like a culture in decline, I think. Because it's like a dumbed down like intellectualism. You know, it's like people looking for explanations from like the dumbest, most common sense kind of like tricksters. You know, a comedian's like a magician of common sense where he's like, hey, I love black people, but I hate. Doesn't that make sense? It's like, no, you're a fucking bigot. It's just racism and sexism and in disguise, you know? Okay, I got 10%, so I'm almost done here. Thank you for watching. Yeah, the Gong Show tomorrow. I'll probably go live later tonight, maybe, when I get home. Just because I'm so dedicated to my online community. And I want to build my brand and my, you know, I need to create a real, you know, fervor online. I got to figure out how to get followers, how to get fucking, I don't know. Was this interesting for people, just me talking about my fucking poetry book for an hour? I think we got into some interesting things. You know, it's almost August. It's the last day in July, so it's the dog days of summer. You know, the city just kind of empties out and things kind of slow down. It's kind of nice. I think NYU comes back in like 2 weeks, but you know, we're doing exciting things with the open mic. It's fun every week. I'd like to get more stage time. I'd like to eat up more stage time and do more interesting things for the fans. But everybody, the people with money who are the audience are finance criminals. They're all analysts or consultants. These are not my people. You know, I saw this thing. It was a tech comedy show for people in tech. I think this is part of the problem. This is another reason why tech sucks. And this is one reason why comedy is so big, I think. It's because tech people like it. Tech people are just like middle schoolers with all the money and power in the world. You know, because they were nerds in fucking school. They were just on computers the whole time. They're on the spectrum. They don't have social skills, or I don't know. That's the cliche. Who knows what they're like now? But they have way too much power, and their taste sucks. You know, they grew up on South Park and shit. They're all like South Park bros. And so they have money. They're a big consumer. You know, they're probably one of the few consumer industry, you know, bases, tech and finance people. And so comedy appeals to them. You know, all the finance people are Republicans. And a lot of these comedians are finance people or tech people. You know, that's their day job. So that's the culture, particularly in Manhattan. In Brooklyn, you're going to find trust fund kids because that's who lives there, because they're all super left-wing because their parents fucked them up. But, you know, the people in Manhattan stole everything from our societies, so that's how they can afford this. They're all tech criminals or finance pirates. You know, they're hostile takeover captains of industry and private equity, hedge funds, venture capital, investors, investment bankers. They work for Goldman, for Lehman. And they can fly women around and cheat on their wives and fly women to Europe, and they run New York. You know, that's one of the things that sucks about no rent control, no poverty, is like the rich people just run everything here. You know, it's like Willy Wonka. It's just rich kids. The rich kids bought all the golden tickets. So it's like, it sucks. There's nobody with any fucking real edge. You know, you don't feel people really having to work, and you don't feel that kind of character and kind of strength of character. You just feel ease and like yacht rock kind of levels of comfort, like boating hats, ascots, Thurman Munson or whatever, Thurston Howell III. Manhattan's just a big luxury liner. So I don't know. I'd like to. Where's the frontier? You know, where do we go to the cutting edge? You tell me. Is it out there? Is it in here? Is it online? We need traction online. We need big views. We need more clicks. We need more likes. Share. We need you to share this. We need you to evangelize these meandering pontifications. Lectures, okay? It's not meant to be some fucking packaged YouTube lecture, YouTube video essay. So here we are, trapped in the Museum City. It's either that or, you know, suburban hell, car city. So we want to live in non-car cities. You got to live in a museum. You got to live in tiny town. But we're still holding on. Someday we'll make it big. Someday things are gonna turn around. Get my book, City Life, coming soon. City Life, my New York novel. It's all there, folks. The whole city. Take it with you. You want a little piece of New York? It's Manhattan to go. New York City on the go. Thank you for watching. It's our 24/7 political election coverage. Live 2024. Kamala versus Trump. JD Vance, the worst VP pick of all time. I'm so glad the media is shitting on JD Vance. It's about fucking time. This guy gets what he deserves. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully a year from now we'll be right where we're at right now. Just democratic, chill, steady, staying the course. I don't know. It's okay. Life is okay. Someday we'll break through, I guess. You know, just keep believing. Don't stop believing, everybody. Keep doing open mics. Keep making posts. Keep connecting, you know, with other human beings. We're all moral narcissists. It's okay. We're doing our best, you know. We're human beings. But I do think it's true that if, like, you give more to other people and if you do things, I think that's why so many people responded to the open mic in a positive way, because they just thought it was like a giving thing. They just thought, oh, Matt Proctor, like, is so supportive of people and so positive and so complimentary. He's always so positive. And then they decided that I just do it to get things. I just do it so I can get things out of it, but it's not true, you know. I just do it for the community, you know, to keep the culture alive. You know, New York needs this, the East Village needs this. We need this. We need this stage time, even if it's pointless, even if it's expensive, even if it's just to each other. I think we're keeping each other alive and afloat. We're giving each other excitement and purpose. And, you know, heightening consciousness. So, onward and upward with the arts. Downward and backward. Taking a trip down memory lane. We're memory laning with City Life. Get it coming soon, this fall, from Rotcore International. Thank you for watching. I'll probably get on later, maybe. So, tune in then. Ta-ta. Bye-bye.